Welcome back. Let's talk Lions and Bears with Bears radio analyst, the 1985 Super Bowl champion, Tom Thayer joins us on the phone right now. How you doing, Tom?
Hey, Tom.
Hey, I'm doing well. You know, it's nice to see a Pet Supplies commercial as I sit here with my 3 dogs.
Oh.
It's nice for those guys to get a little shout out.
Hey, we got you covered,
that.
Tom. If you're ever in Michigan, we got your dog food.
What type of dogs, Tom?
I'll be there.
Hey, Tom,
I got 3 French bulldogs.
Why don't all the tough guys got the small dogs, man? I have a Pomeranian at home, man, so I definitely get it, man.
Hey, Tom, before I
have an old.
Sorry, I think we got a crazy delay, but go ahead.
Sorry.
I think we have a delay. Sorry, go ahead.
We got you.
Okay. Well, no, I was just saying. I have an old guy, Ernie, who's was the first guy aboard, and then I was given a dog that I think people got that really weren't into raising. That's Sweet Lou, and then I got another one named Rudy, and I grew up with Rudy, so I had to name a dog after him that kind of looked like him.
Notre Dame.
Hey, Tom, before we get into Lions and Bears, I do want to ask you if the biggest story around here, one of them anyway, is what Jim Harbaugh and Michigan are going through. You guys actually crossed paths with the Bears in the late 80s, right?
Yeah, Jim and I were teammates for a while with the Bears, and the Jim Harbaugh I see in press conferences now is not the Jim Harbaugh that I was familiar with as a player. Although he was a super dedicated football player, he came aboard with a lot of pressure on him, being a first-rounder from Michigan while we had Jim McMahon aboard. Then they traded Jim McMahon, and Jim became our quarterback. But he's kind of a different guy that I see on press conferences that I knew as a player.
How different, if I can ask?
He was a happy-go-lucky, fun guy, a great teammate, had a great sense of humor. He was, he was always in superior condition. He was, football meant a lot to him. He was as dedicated as he is a coach. But I don't see the fun, I don't see the smiling personality that I saw in the locker room or in the weight room or in the off-season preparation or even going out socially with him at times. And, I miss that Jim Harbaugh because, like I said, when I see him in front of the podium, whether he's answering questions after a game or some of the, situations that he's been going through since the beginning of the year, it just seems like a more serious of a guy. And, like I said, I miss the old Jim.
Last question about Jim Harbaugh. If Chicago makes a move with Matt Eberflus as their head coach at the end of the year, is Harbaugh a guy that do you think Bears ownership would consider as head coach?
I think every team that is willing to make a coaching change would consider Jim Harbaugh because of the success he's had in the NFL, and they understand what type of program he can build. And the NFL is turning into a young man's sport, and I think he's probably got more in relation to young talent than he does some of the older guys that he's coached in his past. So I don't think Bears would be exclusive to having interest in him. I think every team out there that made a coaching change would have interest in him.
Tom, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Brandon Edwards here. Let's talk about those Chicago Bears. Justin Fields making his first game back this week. Justin Fields is an interesting topic in Chicago. What are the thoughts on Justin Fields for the rest of the year? Will Justin Fields get a chance to be the guy moving forward into next year? Or is he this is like his test run to see what he has to make before they try to go in a different direction?
I hope that Justin has a successful run here for these last 7 games, and he plays like he did against the Washington Commanders. Because, when he had good pass protection and he was really, throwing the ball well to Cole Kmet and DJ Moore, and now Darnell Mooney has kind of burst into the scene a little bit more in the last couple weeks. And the thing about when you play against Justin Fields, it's almost hard to predict what you're going to get. Are you going to get the accurate passer that they did against the Washington Commanders, or are they going to get the dynamic athlete that the Bears were and the NFL was introduced to last year by Justin Fields? And then this is the first time that we've seen him kind of in mid-season where he's missed a couple games. He's got to stand on the sideline, listen to Luke Getsy call the play, and then watch Tyson Bagent run the offense. You know, a lot of times quarterbacks can improve during those types of times, but you know, he's having a good week of practice and he feels good. And but I do believe that in the history of my time being around the Bears, this will be the most hostile Detroit Lions stadium that the Bears have ever walked into. So it's not going to be easy for Justin or anybody else who would play quarterback in that stadium.
Talking to Bears radio analyst and 85 Super Bowl champion Tom Thayer. Here's another question about Justin Fields before we go. How much blame is Justin and how much blame is two different coaches and three different offensive coordinators? Because I think it's so easy to point the finger and say he's a Ohio State quarterback. It's on him. He's missing throws. He's not getting it done. He's had 3 years to kind of show what he has. But at the same time, you're talking two different head coaches. You're talking one that didn't draft him. You're talking offensive coordinators in different systems. And also, he didn't even have anything to work with on offense the first year. How much is Justin Fields and how much is the situation that he was drafted into?
I think it's more the situation he was drafted into. You know, since he's been here, they've had 33 different offensive line combinations. Yeah. And you can't develop a young quarterback when you have changes week in and week out. You have different types of centers. You have a knuckleball center exchange, and then you have a spiral center snapper. So that there's difference there. And then you have, you know, they allowed Justin to use his legs to be the biggest threat on offense last year. And then this year they tried to turn him into a pocket passer.
True.
I don't think they've ever actually decided on exactly what they think Justin's going to be. They need to allow Justin to be the dynamic athlete that plays quarterback rather than trying to be a backup quarterback that has dynamic athletic skills.
Hey, Tom, it's Tom Mazzoy. Thanks for coming on with us. We always enjoy having you. I wanted to talk to you about this Lions team that you did bring up, and the Bears are coming into hostile territory.
Yeah,
Ford Field, the tickets have never been more expensive, never been more sold out. Usually Bear fans would take the stadium over. Packers fans would take the stadium over. That's a done deal. Have you ever seen a Lions team like this? What is your take on this year's Detroit Lions?
You know, Dan Campbell reminds me a lot of Mike Ditka. And having a chance to play with Mike Ditka, you know, that personality, an ex-tight end, an ex-player that put heavy-duty requirements on you, that captured the attention of the fan base, that made decisions like the I made last week, not by what the analytics says, about what he feels. And that's one thing I love about the guy. And I enjoyed playing for Ditka and the serious approach that he had to everyday team development. But I think the everyday team development and Dan Campbell's attitude has spilled up into the stands. And like I said, I've been a part of every Bears game since 1985 against the Bears in Detroit. And last year, you could see that stadium starting to gain that momentum where it could really be a weapon against anybody who goes in there. And I'm super interested to see what it's like this Sunday because I expect it to be the loudest atmosphere the Bears have played in yet this year.
That's a good take, Tom. You are going to hear it. It's going to be very loud. You and Jeff Joniak do a great job, by the way, on the play-by-play. I wanted to talk to you about David Montgomery, a guy that you guys know very well. Now he's over here with the Lions. He's having a great year. A couple games he sat out with injuries, but we're so happy that he is here and to have him with Jahmyr Gibbs. That's a dynamic duo.
I love David Montgomery. I like his dedication to the sport. I like his willingness to recover quickly if he does have any type of injury setback. I think David Montgomery was underutilized here when he played for the Bears in terms of a pass-catching running back. You know what he's like with the ball into his hands after he takes a handoff. But to me, Dave Montgomery is as a favorite of mine at the running back position that's ever come through the Bears system. You know, and I played with Walter Payton, and I broadcast for Thomas Jones, and I saw Matt Forte's career. And David Montgomery is equally as impressive as any one of those guys, and I'm happy he's having success, and I've always been a big fan of his.
I love the old school thought process is, you know, the guys that get to come back faster from injury, the guys that you respect. That's my dad, man. He played for the Oilers, so I had that same type of energy. It's like the guys that come back, the guys that get over things, you really appreciate them on the team. You talk about the acquisition for the Detroit Lions, which was David Montgomery. I want to talk about two of the Bears, DJ Moore, and then more recently Montez Sweat. Talk about what those acquisitions have allowed the Bears to do on offense, and then Montez Sweat obviously on defense.
You know, DJ Moore's been unbelievable. He's been a rock in the locker room. He's just been a real model citizen of what you want as a teammate. I think he deserves more targets per game. And you would look at his toughness, or you look at his willingness to make the difficult catches. You see his difficulty to tackle if there's only one defender on him. DJ Moore, I love what I've got to know from the guy from the start of training camp to where the Bears are right now, and he is one of Justin Fields' favorite targets. And like I said, I think he should get more reps. You know, Montez Sweat is so newly aboard that he got introduced the first week. The second week he had 8 pressures. The Bears were able to get 3 sacks. But this is the type of game that he really has to, show the division that he's worthy of the big money he got, and he's worthy of the trade. And if he can go out there and have some pressure against Jared Goff, I think it's only going to increase his value to this team. But the one thing good about the Bears is if they're not only let the come here, they're rotating 8 different defensive linemen. If he can play a fresh brand of football along with Yannick Ngakoue and Rasheem Green and DeMarcus Walker and the rest of the crew they have aboard, I think that he can really help turn this team around. Because just with the better the defensive line plays, the better T.J. Edwards is playing, Jack Sanborn, Tremaine Edmonds. So he's not only an asset at the line of scrimmage, he also lets the linebackers play a faster brand of football.
Hey, Tom, as a good old offensive lineman yourself, what is your take on the Detroit Lions offensive line?
I love them. I think you guys have great offensive tackles, and your interior is equally as impressive. I think that they're running, an offensive line that they can pass block, but I think it's the real, running game, running ability offensive lines that go deep into the playoffs, challenge for the division crown, and then, ultimately try to get to the Super Bowl. You guys got good athletes. You have good size. You have guys, obviously, that are developing through their time there in Detroit. And, just to repeat myself, I think Mike Ditka had a big influence on our offensive line. And I think when you have a head coach that has a big influence on what he wants the offensive line to be, I think it plays an important role in their dedication to each other and then what they're ultimately able to do game in and game out at home or on the road. So I know I'm saying a lot of great things about the Detroit Lions, but heck, I envy where you guys where you guys are at and where you're going.
Hey, it's been a long time, Tom. So long. Okay, so we'll take the compliment. Speaking of you guys, you got 2 number 1 picks coming up. Do you think Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus will be there to make those picks?
I do. I think Ryan Poles will, and I like to see the way that he's evaluated talent since he's been here. He's got a good eye, no matter what the picking. And to me, the best case scenario really for the Bears would be for the Bears to finish strong, their offense and defensive statistics continue to improve, finish the season with some wins, and then be able to keep this group together. I think if you dismantle this entire group, no matter where your draft capital stands that you're setting yourself back again another 2 years. So the best case scenario is the Bears to finish strong, keep this group aboard, and let Ryan Poles have his choice in the draft this year, and to see where he can change the culture, the locker room, and the ability of the team.
Hey, Tom, we can't thank you enough, my friend, for spending some time with us here in Detroit. Hopefully you get to enjoy a little bit of the city during your visit, and maybe we'll talk to you again, hopefully, down the road later in the season.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
You guys, Tom Thayer,
Take care of those dogs.
1985 world champion with the Chicago Bears.
It's always a cool thing when certain guys just kind of announce the guys they play with, and they kind of say it casually, because there's nothing casually about saying, I was with Walter Payton. Like, it's certain names you say, Maz, where it's like, damn, you play with sweetness.
Ain't
like,
that
if somebody
something?
just casually drops, I was on the Cowboys team in '95 with Deion. You like, wait. You just can't casually say you're on the team with Deion Sanders, so it's always cool.